Michal, the daughter of King Saul, falls in love with David, the young hero destined to be king. But what starts as a love story becomes complicated by jealousy, betrayal, and the struggle for power. Michal's deep love for David and the challenges they face together show the personal struggles that come with being caught in the middle of a kingdom's power games. Can love survive in the midst of such turmoil, or is it destined to be consumed by the very forces that brought them together? Yes, today, we are going to explore the story of Mikal and David, which unfolds in the heart of Israel's early history as a tale filled with love, loyalty, and heartache. Meanwhile, give us a few seconds to thank everyone who has subscribed, liked, and shared our videos. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel, like the video, and hit the notification bell to stay updated and help us grow even more. Now, let's begin. Michal is the younger daughter of King Saul, the first king of Israel, and a member of the tribe of Benjamin. She is introduced in 1 Samuel 14 verse 49 alongside her siblings, with her older sister being Merab and her brothers Jonathan, Ishvi, and Malki-Shua. Michal grows up in the royal household, witnessing the political and military struggles of her father's reign. She is portrayed as a woman who deeply loves David, a rising star in Israel, and her life is marked by the complexities of this love and her loyalty. David, the son of Jesse from the tribe of Judah, starts as a humble shepherd boy. He is chosen by the prophet Samuel to be the future king of Israel after God rejects Saul for his disobedience. David first gained national fame by defeating Goliath, the giant Philistine warrior, with just a sling and a stone, as narrated in 1 Samuel 17. This victory brings him into King Saul's court, where he becomes a beloved figure among the people and develops a deep friendship with Saul's son, Jonathan. David is not only a skilled warrior, but also a gifted musician and poet, often playing the harp to soothe King Saul. Michal first appears in David's life in 1 Samuel 18 verse 20, which says, "However, Saul's daughter Michal fell in love with David. When Saul was told about it, the news pleased him." This verse highlights her deep affection for David as they become connected in the narrative. This is a significant detail because it is one of the few instances in the Bible where a woman's love for a man is explicitly mentioned. Saul, increasingly envious of David's growing popularity and the favor he receives from the people and God, decides to use his daughter Michal as a trap to get rid of David. Saul offers Michal's hand in marriage to David, but with a dangerous condition. David must collect 100 Philistine foreskins as the bride price. This task is not only extremely difficult and perilous, but also intended to provoke a fatal encounter with the Philistines. Saul hopes that David will be killed while attempting to fulfill this requirement, thus removing him as a threat to his own throne. However, David not only succeeds, but exceeds Saul's expectation by successfully bringing back 200 Philistine foreskins, double the number required. Saul has no choice but to give Michal to David as his wife. Their marriage starts on a high note, with Michal's deep love for David and David's impressive victory. This union takes place against the backdrop of Saul's increasing hostility and jealousy towards David, setting the stage for future conflict. As Saul's jealousy turns into murderous intent, he plots to kill David. Michal, aware of her father's plans, takes action to protect her husband. In a dramatic scene, she helps David escape through a window at night, as described in 1 Samuel 19, verse 11 to 17. To deceive her father's messengers, she places an idol in David's bed, covering it with a garment and using goat's hair to make it look like David is still there. When Saul discovers the ruse, he confronts Michal, but she lies to protect herself, claiming that David threatened her life if she didn't help him escape. This act of loyalty and courage demonstrates Michal's deep love for David and her willingness to defy her father to save her husband. It also marks the beginning of a long separation between them. After David escapes, he becomes a fugitive, living in hiding as Saul relentlessly pursues him. During this period of separation, Saul gives Michal in marriage to another man, Palti, also called Paltiel, son of Laish. This marriage likely occurs without Michal's consent and reflects Saul's ongoing attempt to sever any ties between David and the royal family. David, meanwhile, continues his rise to power. After Saul's death, David becomes the king of Judah, and during the struggle for control of Israel, he seeks to consolidate his rule. As part of this effort, David demands the return of Mikal, his first wife, as a political move to strengthen his claim to the throne. This demand is recorded in 2 Samuel 3, verse 13 to 16. "Good," said David. "I will make an agreement with you, but I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, or when you come to see me." Then David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, demanding, "Give me my wife Michal, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of 100 Philistine foreskins." So Ishbosheth gave orders and had her taken away from her husband Paltiel, son of Laish. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her all the way to Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So he went back. Michal is taken from her second husband Palti, who follows her weeping, but is sent back by Abner, the commander of Saul's army. The text does not describe Michal's feelings about this forced return, but it is likely a deeply painful experience for her, as she is torn from a second husband who apparently loved her. When Michal returns to David, their relationship is no longer the same. The strain in their marriage becomes evident during a key event later in David's reign. In 2 Samuel 6, verse 14, David brings the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem and dances before the Lord with all his might, wearing only a linen ephod, a simple priestly garment. The verse states, wearing a linen ephod, David was dancing before the Lord with all his might. Michal, observing this from a window, despises David in her heart, which reveals her disdain for his exuberant display of worship and humility. When David returns home, Michal confronts him, accusing him of acting in a manner unbefitting a king by exposing himself in front of the servant girls. 2 Samuel 6, verse 20 reads, "When David returned home to bless his household, and Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, 'How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, going around half naked in full view of the slave girls of his servants, as any vulgar fellow would.'" David responds sharply to Michal's criticism, defending his actions by emphasizing that he was celebrating before the Lord, who chose him over her father's house to be the ruler of Israel. He says, "It was before the Lord, who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor." 2 Samuel 6, verses 21 to 22. David's response highlights his commitment to honoring God above societal expectations or personal honor, even if it means facing scorn from his own wife. However, this confrontation between Michal and David marks the final fracture in their relationship. The Bible records that Michal had no children until the day of her death, and Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. 2 Samuel 6, verse 23. This detail may symbolize the estrangement between Michal and David, or serve as a form of divine judgment for her contempt toward David's sincere worship and his role as king. The absence of children could reflect the personal and relational costs of their fractured marriage, and the broader tensions surrounding David's reign. Therefore, the story of Michal and David is a tragic one, marked by love, loyalty, and political intrigue. Michal's life is shaped by her love for David, her defiance of her father to save him, and the painful consequences of their separation and eventual estrangement. Despite her early devotion to David, their relationship becomes fractured, and she ends her days as a childless queen, estranged from the man she once loved. Michal's story serves as a poignant reminder of the personal costs of the power struggles that defined David's rise to kingship and the complex dynamics within Saul's household. And that concludes today's episode. We sincerely appreciate your presence. If you enjoyed our content, please consider hitting the like button, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to our channel. Thank you for your support.